Chioke.com. I'm here for the film Disrupted that I saw. I'm here with the director, Andre Welsh. How you doing?
How's it
And
going?
also here with the actor, Chioke Jelani Clanton. I get that right?
Almost. Chioke Jelani.
Chioke Jelani. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andre, let me start with you. Wow. What a film. And it's different. It's something I really haven't seen in a long time. I don't know if I've seen that before. But in this film, and you wrote this film also, what were you trying to say in this film?
That's a good question. I originally just wanted to tell a story about a guy who was being gentrified out of San Francisco that was kind of had lived there for a while, like 30, 40 years, was seeing all the changes happening around him. But then I started to want to make it a little more of like a thriller plot. So I kind of jumped around with that. And then throw in a psychopathic venture capitalist and me growing up in Oakland, just kind of, just seeing so many changes that happened so not only San Francisco, but Oakland as well. Also putting in some social commentary, just how it affects everybody, how everybody's kind of intertwined with the tech industry and how much it's really changed the Bay Area.
Well, yeah, I never lived over there. I'm from the Midwest myself. I'm from Chicago, but now I live in Florida. And I don't see too many real changes down here, but I've seen other films too about the changes in San Francisco and Oakland too. Yeah, it's going on there a lot, and it's really pushing people out.
Yeah,
and bringing in, the people who I guess got money and things like that. Is that what you seeing also?
Oh yeah. I think it started a while back, probably all the way back in the late 90s. But it seemed like it really accelerated around 2013, like 2012, 2013. And just the rents just started literally like tripling, around that time. So I actually live in LA now, but when I did, I felt like I was lucky because I lived in San Francisco back when it still was kind of affordable. I was just a student at the time, but it's just out of control now. I think the rents have gone down a little bit since the whole COVID thing. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm sorry, Chioke. Okay, help me with your name.
Chioke.
I'm making it harder for me.
If you can get Jelani, a lot of people just refer to me as Jelani. So
let me go with Chioke since I know it now.
All right, that works.
But anyway, tell us about your character in this film. Because you came out differently than I thought you were going to be when I first saw you in the film. So tell us about your character.
I play a character named Jay. He's a rideshare driver, at least by day. But on the side also, he hustles by participating in home invasions. He's he's a big fan of a lot of artwork, so he's into stealing things like this. And really just a guy who has, as Andre was talking about, he's been victimized by a lot of the different changes that have gone on in his native Bay Area. So he's just responding in the best way that he knows how to the impermanence of everything that goes on, not just in his hometown, but also in our world.
Well, Jay is not a stupid person. He's a very intelligent character. He reads, he knows about art. Not only that, he knows about the world around him. And the first scene I saw, you went to pick up a white woman, and she looked at you while you were in your rideshare car and decided to change her mind. That was a very, very impressive scene right there. Tell us about that scene, and how did you feel as Jay?
Well, it's just a reflection of a lot of different things that many of us have experienced, especially those of us with varying shades of brown skin in this world. These are things that we have experienced. Racism is a subsystem of what I like to refer to as speciesism, which is probably the predominant system in our world, anything that's used to oppress and subjugate people. So, her reaction is, just, it's just a reflection of different things that transpire, you know. But I also say too that another perspective in looking at that scene is also that it's very possible that uh, that character, played amazingly by Jen Tripp, she could have just sensed that there was something not quite right about this driver, and maybe it didn't have so much to do with the color of his skin also.
Oh, so well, yeah, maybe her character probably did it through that. But Andre, let me ask you about that scene also.
Hmm?
That scene about the young lady, young white woman did not want to get in the ride share with Jay.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come up with that? Have you seen a lot of that? Is that some part of your reality or someone else's reality?
I think it goes all the way back to, I grew up in East Oakland. Most of my friends were Black growing up. And sometimes, if we were getting into mischief or whatever, when we were like 10 years old, like throwing stuff or whatever. I remember, I think the first time I came across something, I was like 11 and my friend was 13 and he was Black. And he was kind of afraid of the cops. And I was like, oh, why are you afraid of the cops? Because I was like, we didn't really do anything, but he was really afraid. So I think like that was the first time I really noticed that there's definitely like a difference,
Mhm.
between, just how you perceive something as a threat, especially with something like cops. So I kind of applied that same situation to writing the script a little bit too. Like the character Jay, he's gone through lots of things that have just made him, wise and kind of adapt to how he is able to maneuver all that. So I think with that scene, I didn't see exactly that in real life, but something kind of similar where I saw somebody pull up in an Uber and it was actually in front of like a Rite Aid or something. And this woman was like weird about getting into the car because I don't know for sure, but it seemed like because maybe the dude was Black. And I was like, man, that was really kind of weird, seeing that in broad daylight and just, I don't know, the dude just looked very like, just kind of perplexed by it and just like shaking his head. And so that actually gave me the idea. So that was probably like 5 years ago or so. But yeah, that was, so it was somewhat based in reality.
Cool. Now, Chioke, your character Jay, when you was first presented with this script, first of all, you had to audition for this, right?
No, actually, I didn't. This was Andre and I. Well, Andre and I have been, very close for probably going on 20 years now. And so, we worked on a number of different things over the years. We were just coming off of working on a successful web series known as Red Sleep. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm always just excited to see what Andre is coming up with next. So, a few years ago, he presented this idea and told me about the character of Jay and how he had me in mind for the role. So that's how I was able to land that.
Well, what questions did you have about Jay? I mean, for example, Jay is a very intelligent guy, but he wants to resort to a life of crime. And did you ask questions about that?
Yeah, definitely, because like these are things that before I go into actually portraying the character, I want to know from the writer. And a lot of times, we as actors, we don't always get to talk to the actual screenwriter. A lot of times our portrayal of a character is based on how the filmmaker sees that character and wants to direct our performance. So fortunately for me, in being good friends with the filmmaker who's also the screenwriter, I got to ask him a lot of these questions in preparation. So, we wanted to really bring to light, I would say Jay is kind of a composite of a lot of different individuals that Andre and I have both known, coming up in areas like Oakland and Richmond in the Bay Area. So, just getting to talk with Andre and say, well, what do we think about, how he thinks about this and, how's he feel about that, is what went into my performance.
Oh man, that's great. And you know, the Bay Area, I met some very, very great people. For example, there was a great band called War back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
got to know them and things like that. And they kept telling me about the Bay Area and things like that. And now I've been there a couple of times throughout my lifetime, but seem like some very, very nice people from there. And Andre, what is this fascination with brass knuckles? Now, I will admit, when I was a teenager, I did have a pair. Me and a couple other guys, and nobody messed with us. So
No,
what's
I'm
your
sure.
fascination with that, with your character in this film?
You know, I think partially it was like a practical concern in terms of filming a movie. Whenever you have a lot of guns in a movie and you're low budget, it complicates things. So I try to stay away from gun stuff in movies as much as I can. This movie does have some, but I think the other thing was I started to think, well, what would this psychopathic character, how would he want to treat his victims? And to me, it just felt like he just, it's not that he's super angry. It's just more of like it's more like a punishment kind of thing. It's more like he just really wants to teach them a lesson. And I just thought, I mean, one of the most kind of visceral, kind of hardcore weapons you could have is brass knuckles, because it's just so much, it's so personal, you know, it's just so much, you know, it's not like you, I mean, you could stand 100 feet away with a gun and not even see somebody's face, versus brass knuckles. You got to really, it's a really down and dirty way to kill somebody. Obviously it's incredibly violent. So I think that was just something that just felt like it fit that character. Like that's something he would probably go for.
Wow, man, I tell you, that was very devastating for me as a, you know, watching it as an audience member to see that, because I know the punishment that you have to inflict on someone with that type of weapon, you know. Now, Chioke, let me ask you this. Now, when you and your cousin decided to, you know, get into that life you all decided to do together, what was some of the decisions that character had to, you know, well, put himself into to say, hey, let's do this, get some artwork to make some money?
You know, I always think about, you know, what General Sun Tzu talks about in The Art of War. And that is, you know, before you enter into any type of conflict or, you know, campaign, you need to know the lay of the land. You need to know the terrain. So, you know, with Jay and his cousin Prez, looking at their situation and how they grew up, and, you know, also understanding the world around them, you know, outside of their immediate view, it's survival of the fittest, you know, and you either evolve and adapt, or, you know, you're going to be swallowed up. So, you know, with them, there's a lot of things that they had to mentally that they had to transcend that maybe other people around them hadn't done. You know, and that's kind of like what Jay is alluding to in conversations that he's having with his cousin, but also some of the other characters, in that he refused to view himself through the lens in which the world kind of forces everybody to look at him through. And, you know, he's decided, because everything is just, you know, wild, you know, that he needs to be even more, not necessarily more wild, but, you know, just more willing to adapt to anything that can happen at any given time, you know, and not move about things, you know, just without any type of preparation.
Yeah, you did adapt in a few scenes in the film, and man, you really did a great job as Jay to adapt to the situations that you got yourself in. And Andre, you know, as the writer, as director for this film, why did you put those two characters in those situations? Was it for dramatic effect, or was it just to show what were the new changes going on in San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it was, you know, they were a combination of, I think, having some social commentary on what it might be like for you know, two Black characters that are being gentrified out of the Bay Area, but they don't want to leave, and so they're figuring out ways to adapt. But also, I think they also, the ways they chose to adapt, like, you know, getting a Prius, dressing like hipsters,
Yeah.
you know, wearing glasses. I tried to also make it kind of comedic a little bit, you know, to where like they were a little bit of the comic relief too. It wasn't just super serious the whole time. So we wanted to have fun with it and still, you know, be able to have some funny dialogue and you know, I mean, Jelani, you know, Chioke Jelani just does a ton of improv. You know, he's great at that. So really, when I was writing the scenes, we had a lot of room for improv, you know, for him and Aku as well. Aku plays the cousin.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him as an actor also. This was very good. One more question about the filming. How long did it take to film this film?
That's a good question. We actually shot off and on for, if you had to put all the production days, I'd say it was about 24 days. But really, we shot the first half of the film in spring of 2017, and then pretty much the second half in the fall of 2017. And we did some pickup shots in 2018. So that really just post-production just took a while. It was a lot more, I underestimated post.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot more time consuming than production, I would say. So, yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed the film. I really did. And that's why I wanted to do the interview with you two guys. And this was a very good film to watch. Any last thing you want to say to the audience members before? And it's coming on, my other question, it's coming on demand. What's the date on that?
Well, it's out on Prime and coming to Tubi soon, or maybe it just came on Tubi. I'm not sure.
It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi now. Okay, yeah. So just came on Tubi recently. It's on Vudu, Google Play, YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah,
Apple TV
platforms. Apple TV. Yeah.
Apple TV too.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys checking out the film. It was a labor of love, lot of long days and nights shooting it. So yeah, it was fun.
Oh, it's fun to watch. It really is. And I'm going to promote it the best way I can. And because I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed this video. Thank you for taking time with me on McGee at yeticket.com. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
And keep up the good work. But I would like to know what's going to be next. What's next? Anything? Both of you guys, anything next?
Yeah, we actually are working together on another project soon. It's still so early that I can't really talk too much about it, but yeah, you'll be seeing him in something very soon.
Well, I hope to see you in a lot. I really do. I hope to see you in a lot. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again for having us. We appreciate it.
And Annie, thank you too.
Thank you. So happy to have it set up. Thanks.
All right.
This is your entertainment ticket. Latest and greatest.